Hi, guys. Thank you for joining me today. And thank you to anyone watching the replay. How's it going today? It's getting dark here, so I've got the auto lighting setting on my camera switched on. I don't know, it looks a little bit strange, but there we go. It's the first time I've used it, so it's an experiment. Uh, cool, cool. So today we are talking about, let me bring up salam, informal versus formal language, specifically for writing. So, Alexander, hello. Mhm. Cool, cool, nice. We've got a nice active comments section. Happy day. Hi, Manuel. How's it going? So you can see straight away here. Yeah, hello. You can see straight away here we've got these two examples. We've got please can you, informal, versus I would be grateful if you could. So far more formal. Let's get straight into it. So today we're talking about formal and informal writing. This is how to make your writing sound more academic, professional, or polite, and also how to make it sound more natural and conversational. We're going to look at linking words for reason, addition, contrast, and result, because anyone who's sort of preparing for an exam will know that, yeah, we have kind of informal linking words, and then we also have the formal ones, which are appropriate for things like essays. Word choice, language choices, things like need versus require, contractions like I am becoming I'm, you are becoming you're, and also punctuation. Angela, hello. How's it going today? Manuel, I like this expression. I'm alive and kicking. Yep, me too. Alive and kicking. Still here. Haven't met my maker yet. One of many phrases from this week's newsletter. I'm not sure what led me onto the topic of, well, yeah, it was a question, wasn't it? A question from a reader who asked about different ways to refer to death. That's what that was about. By the end of today, you should be able to adapt your writing for essays, emails, or everyday communication, and understand how native speakers switch between styles. Ettore, hello. How's it going? A little quick outline of the difference between formal and informal. Formal language is used in essays, reports, business emails, more structured. There are often longer sentences, and there are no contractions and definitely no slang. Informal language used with friends on social media or in casual messages, and it's more direct and conversational. Yes. A point about this kind of formal language. One of the things that I see in the summers when I work at the university, and students, of course, nowadays everyone's using ChatGPT and whatnot, but you can pretty much immediately tell when someone presents work, like an academic text that's been written by AI, because it's too informal. AI has quite a conversational style, and it tends to use things like idioms. One I saw all the time was, it's a double-edged sword. And I'm like, this is not appropriate in an academic literature review. So there you go. use AI for ideas, but don't use it to write the thing. What's this? In which teachers are against final exams. Interesting. The alternative being continuous coursework. And I actually prefer exams from a student perspective. But that's just because I'm good at exams. And coursework, I never liked doing that. Right. So let's get into it. Can you spot the difference? Okay, so just letting you know, the meeting's been moved. I would like to inform you that the meeting has been postponed. Which one is formal and which is informal? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So Alexander, straight up, the second is formal. Yeah, you are right. How do you know? What is it about the style that tells you that it's formal? Yeah, I would like, absolutely. In less formal communication, you'd contract that and it would be, I'd like, if you were going to use that in a sort of informal way. Too much polite, too polite. It depends on the context, really. Yeah. Would like, sheer politeness. Yeah, I would like. Postponed, yes. Yeah. Yeah, the verb. So we're all saying the verbs too. Absolutely. Yeah. So this first bit here, I would like to inform you versus just letting you know. We've got the phrasal verb to let somebody know, which means to tell somebody. So phrasal verbs typically they tend to be used in less formal styles of communication, though we often avoid them when we're being formal. And inform somebody, again, this verb choice, it's more formal than tell, although it basically means the same thing. So you often see informal emails. And then we've got the contraction here. So apostrophe S, the contracted form of has. And then we've got this vocabulary choice. The meeting's been moved or the meeting's been postponed. So if you postpone something, you move it, you put it back. So you delay it. It's just a more formal word. So let's have a look at a quick tip. Yeah, use a thesaurus. And if you're not sure what a thesaurus is, check out this one by Collins. You'll find the link in the description. I might also have it here. I can pop it into the chat. So if you're not a fan of QR codes, a thesaurus is a great way to find a synonym. So you put in the word, for example, tell, and it will bring up different ways that you can say that. So, yeah. I particularly like this one. There you go. And remember, the link is in the chat, and you can also find it in the video description. So, just let you know, this is an interesting question. So, just let you know or just letting you know, which one is better? Just letting you know is better. That is because it's a sort of shortened version of I'm just letting you know. if you said just let you know, that would be a shortened version in the present simple tense, and it would be like a repeated action. I let you know every day what the plan is. So that's why it's the letting you know. It's actually the present continuous, but we've chopped off the I'm part. Yeah. Okay, so a few people in the comments here. Let's see. So Hideaki, you say the first one is informal. Does anyone agree? Does anyone disagree? What do the rest of you think? It's getting cold in here now. I'm getting cold hands. This is the coldest day of the year so far, I think, here in southern Spain. The temperature has dropped. Yeah, this is a tricky one, I'm going to tell you. The first one is formal. The second is informal. So I look forward, or I'm looking forward. If you look forward to doing something, you feel happy or excited about something that is going to happen. And we almost always use this in the present continuous tense when we're sort of in informal or neutral situations. So I'm looking forward to, and it can be followed by ing or a noun. I'm looking forward to Christmas, for example. That means I'm excited about it. But we don't just use it for big things like Christmas or holidays. You can also say, I'm hungry. I'm looking forward to having dinner. Or I'm tired. I'm looking forward to going to bed, for example. So the I look forward to is used only in formal contexts. It's very common at the end of emails. Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting with you after Thanksgiving for having a dinner. Yeah, for dinner. Thanksgiving dinner. We don't have Thanksgiving in England, which is kind of a shame because it looks amazing. I mean, any excuse to get together and have a delicious meal. So, yeah, I look forward to hearing from you, is what you'll hear at the end of formal communications. Let's have another one. What about this? Which one is formal and which is informal? First is formal. So everyone agrees. Yeah. First one. First, yeah, you're right, Hideaki. Inquire is formal. Yeah. So, and that's it. Inquire versus find out. Find out about something, and find out is a phrasal verb. That's to discover. And also we have the contracted form in the second one. So I'd like to find out. What about this pair? Interesting question. I'm just going to backtrack there. Yeah. So just to address this question? Okay. Yeah. In British English, certainly, inquire with an E is used when we're asking for information. Um, inquire with an I would be used typically in British English more for something official, like perhaps a police investigation. So inquire, and this is a UK thing, I guess, for questions, inquire, yeah, police investigations. I'm not sure if you have this difference in US English as much, so. So, yeah, some interesting questions here. This one, I'm looking forward to hearing the only case when to can be used with ing. No, I've been meaning to do a video about this for ages. I'm just going to skip forward to the next slide so people can think about it. But yeah, to followed by ing. And in the moment, I can never think of examples. To followed by gerund. I'm going to resort to asking Google. Let's see some examples. Get around to, that's another common one. Get around to doing something, which means to find the time to do it. So to followed by ing is certainly less common than to followed by infinitive, but there are he's addicted to gambling. Anytime when you could put a noun there, you can also use the ing form. This is on my list of videos to make already, but I'm going to make a note to bring it forward. So, to plus ing. Yeah. Right. So, Eugene, hello. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Regret in capital letters there. Uh-huh. The second one, yeah. Your application was unsuccessful is neutral. The second one is formal. Yeah. Regrets, I had a few. Oh, that's from a song, isn't it? I'm thinking Queen. We Are the Champions, but I'm not sure. I'm sorry to tell you that we let you go. Yeah. So you're right. The second one is formal. I'm sorry to tell you, although we've got the contracted I'm, okay, regret is more formal. Sinatra, okay. Okay, yes. Yes, my way, of course. Of course. Yeah. You didn't get the job, your application was unsuccessful. So your application was unsuccessful is much more formal than you didn't get the job. Typically, anytime when we use get, we're being more on the neutral side of things, neutral to informal. I think we've got one or two more of these, and then we're going to move on to looking at linking words. So what do you think with this one? Which is the formal one? Second one is formal. Yeah. Yep. Yes, it is. So I'm sorry versus unfortunately. Unfortunately. And then I can't. I am unable to. Yeah. We all agree. Unfortunately, is polite indeed. Yep. I am unable is formal. And then we also have the verb choice here, to come versus to attend. So attend is a much more formal verb. I regret to tell you I am unable to attend. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Let's see. How about this one? I'm pretty sure this one, I've included this example for one specific reason. About to plus gerund. Huh? I would no. See, about to is followed by the infinitive. I'm about to do that. The sun is about to set at the moment. But used to. Oh, sorry, I missed that. Eugene, I see what you're saying. Yeah, about to plus gerund. Yeah, I'm used to. Absolutely. To be used to doing something. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So here we say the first one is formal first. Yeah, I'm delighted. Yeah, and it would be more formal if there were no contraction in there. I am delighted. I am delighted. Cool. Yeah, has been dispatched. Absolutely. So great news, very informal. And this verb choice, dispatched versus sent. And I also want to draw your attention to the punctuation, the exclamation marks. We do not use these in formal writing. No, don't do it. Do not do it. Yes, great news. Tomorrow's Friday. Hang out with friends and hangover. I hope not. Well, the hangover, I guess, comes on Saturday after hanging out with friends. Hopefully not, though. Let's see. Now we're going to talk about linking words. All right. Now, this one is really important when it comes to writing and is an area where I see a lot of mistakes, or I don't know if I'd call it a mistake, but inappropriate language, let's say. So we're going to start by looking at linking words for giving a reason. An informal linker for giving a reason for saying why. How would you answer the question, why? You know how my mum would always answer this question? Put it in the chat. Although I can't really do that without telling you the linking word I'm thinking of. So I'll hold off on that. Due to the, yeah. But that's a more formal one. Therefore is actually used to give a result. So we're going to come to that. At the moment, I'm just looking for the informal word. What's the most informal, the most natural way in spoken English that you would introduce a reason? Yeah, absolutely. Because, and my mum always used to say, because Y is not Z. Anytime I say, but why, she'd say, but Y is not Z. And I'm like, Mum, that's not an answer. Too formal. An AI. Really? You see, for me, AI often has a more informal style. 'Cause, yeah, absolutely. In spoken English, we'd shorten it and it becomes 'cause. 'Cause. Why did you do that? 'Cause I wanted to. So let's have a look. I didn't go out because I was a bit tired, or rather, I didn't go out because I was a bit tired. Uh, How about a formal version? Mm. Due to is more formal. On account of, we would say. I have to inform, perhaps. Yeah. But I'm thinking, this is hello. 'Cause reasons. I like that. 'Cause reasons. In English, if we don't want to give an answer, we say, like, when someone asks why, and, we don't feel like explaining ourselves, you can say, just because, just because. Yeah. We write because, and then we say cause. Yeah, absolutely. As instead of because. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. As and also since. Yeah. So Eugene, so, although, and though, these are not used to give a reason, and we're going to come to them shortly. Hold your horses. So this is a more formal version of the same sentence. I remained at home as I was feeling rather fatigued. And just to draw your attention here to the comma, so we don't use a comma before because, but we do typically use a comma before as. Uh, do you think owing to could fit this situation? Well, owing to would be followed by a noun or the fact that. So you could say, I remained at home owing to, you could use a gerund phrase, I guess, owing to feeling rather fatigued, or owing to the fact that I was feeling rather fatigued. Go ahead, Manuel. Fire away, as we say. So here, a couple of things to point out. Didn't, we've got the contracted form. Didn't go out. Go out is a phrasal verb, another hallmark of less formal language. I remained at home, more formal, to remain. And a bit, this is typically less formal, whereas rather has more of a formal vibe to it. Why, why a bit tired? As opposed to bit tired without the We always need here with a bit when we're saying a small amount, like a bit or a little, or you can say a little bit. Mhm. Yeah. a bit late. I'm a little bit late, or I'm a bit late, like a small amount. Yeah, a tad. So this is a nice informal way of saying a bit, a small amount. Is that a British thing, or do they say that across the pond too? Jesus, help us out. Do they say a tad in North America? Perhaps. Perhaps. And then moon, the cats and fatigue, perhaps. Shy one horse. This is an interesting use of the word shy. For anyone who isn't sure what shy means in this context, to be shy something is missing it. So I'm shy one horse means that I'm missing one horse. Where's my horse? Okay, yeah, so a tad is used in North America as well. Good to know. Okay. Other alternative. What comes to mind most naturally to you, Jesus? What's the first thing you think of in the context of a bit or a tad? In English, in English from England, what I want to say, sometimes we say a wee bit, which probably originates from Irish English, I think, perhaps. A little bit. I'm a wee bit tired. Maybe Scottish. Maybe Scottish. A wee bit. Yeah. What accent do I hear in my mind when I say that? Yeah, Alexander, I think you're right. It probably is Scottish, actually, originally. Wee. Yeah, because they'd say the wee lass, like it means small, the little girl. A smidge. A smidge, yeah, we use that too. Just a smidge, just a small amount. It's funny because I wouldn't say I'm a smidge tired, but I would use it like perhaps if someone said, "Do you want milk in your coffee?" And I might say, "Oh, just a smidge, just a little bit." Actually, I wouldn't because I like lots of milk in my coffee, but I couldn't think of another example. And the final thing about this is to point out here is this one. I wonder if I mixed up these. No. I wanted to point out as well this tired versus fatigued. Fatigued is a much more formal word. And here we can use as or since interchangeably. They're exactly the same. You can use them at the beginning of the sentence too. You could say, as I was feeling rather fatigued, comma, I remained at home. Or since I was feeling rather fatigued, comma, I remained at home. Yeah. Lay off, be fired, let you go. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he was laid off, he was fired, he got the sack. He lost his job. Is everywhere a Scottish word? I don't think so. Not as far as I'm aware. Let's talk about result now. So, I'm going to put a sentence in the chat. And I want you to complete the missing word in informal English. So what's the most natural thing that comes to mind here in spoken English? So Hideaki, that's why, yeah, that's an option. It doesn't fit in the current sentence because that's why starts a new sentence. And I want something that can follow the comma. Yeah, exactly. So Alexander and Alexander, boom, at the same time. So, yeah, so it's the most common one. He missed the bus, so he got to work late. A more formal way of saying so. What do you think? We've already had this in the chat, actually, earlier on. Yeah, exactly. Therefore. And therefore is not the only option. Yeah. As a result, there are other options. Hence, yeah. Hence, I like that. Reminds me of one of my students. Well, actually, he's not my student anymore. He's just stopped having classes because he's ready to take his IELTS exam now. But yeah, he used to always use hence in his essays. Yeah. Mm. As a matter of fact, so that's slightly different. As a matter of fact, this is like kind of like by the way, or in reality, subsequently. Nice, yeah, it's a nice formal one. So he missed the bus, therefore he arrived at work late. This is our more formal version. So yeah, as a result works here because of could be used for giving a reason, but not a result. So he was late. Why? Because of missing the bus. Or, yeah, so as a result. So here, and to draw your attention again to punctuation, therefore typically begins a new sentence. So it needs a capital letter and it's followed by a comma. But as well as a full stop or a period, to use North American English, so full stop or period is simply this symbol. You're welcome. Yeah. Thus, so thus in terms of punctuation is a little bit like therefore. You'd be starting a new sentence and it would be followed by a comma. But we can also use a semicolon there. You don't see the semicolon as much nowadays because everyone seems to be obsessed with the em dash. Well, when I say everyone, I mean ChatGPT, which everyone uses. No shade, I use it too from time to time. So, well, a lot actually. Answering questions, but not for written work because it's not my style. Consequently, yes, another nice formal option there. Consequently, he arrived at work late. It's a lovely one. So, and here you may or may not know this, but well, I often see this mistake actually with the prepositions. So we get to a place and we arrive at a place. And in spoken English, no one ever says, or at least it's rare, people don't usually say arrive at. We don't say, I arrived at work at 9 o'clock, or I arrived at the bus stop on time. It's not very natural in speaking. We just say, we use get. I got to work, I got to the bus stop. And notice the pronunciation there. It's not got to, but got to, got to, got to work, got to the bus stop. Yeah, semicolon. It is very English. I wonder, it's not used as much as it used to be, but it should be. It's appropriate in place of a full stop when the two independent clauses are very closely related, like in this case where you've got, a causal relationship. Yeah, me too. Me too. So let's look at addition now. What's the most common addition link that you can think of? In spoken English, what would you pop in this gap? I like pizza, pasta. Yeah, exactly. And she's very clever and works really hard. How about a more formal option? I'm not surprised, Manuel. There's sort of, yeah, I don't think they get taught as much. Like, I think a lot of people don't really know how to use them. As well as, yeah, as well as, I would say as well as is more neutral. It's not really formal. Adding that. No, but something along the right lines with add. We wouldn't use even more in this case. Or apart from that. Apart from that is more of a contrast thing. Like the for example, the computer crashed. Apart from that, everything went well. So apart from is like not including that. Yeah, so Jesus, we're on the same page. Yeah, Alexandra as well, I know. In addition, so here's our more formal version. She's highly intelligent. In addition, she demonstrates a strong work ethic. So here, again, to point out the punctuation, you could use a full stop or a semicolon, and it should be followed by a comma. Yeah. Simultaneously, this one is used for actions rather than states, typically. So I wouldn't say she's clever, and although, of course, working hard is an action, but clever is not. So I would use that more for two actions that are happening at the same time. He can sort of, he can simultaneously sing and dance, neither of which I can do, either separately or simultaneously. Alas. She's very clever in addition to working really hard. Yeah, that works. Yeah. You are welcome, Cecilia. Furthermore, yeah, this is another nice option. So she's highly intelligent. Let me get myself out of the way there. She's highly intelligent. Furthermore, she demonstrates a strong work ethic. Yeah, that works perfectly. You'd rather write another transition word. In addition, even more. I wouldn't use even more in this case. But there is one kind of similar to that you might be thinking of, which we're going to come to next, actually. So we've got the contracted form in the informal sentence. We've got very clever versus highly intelligent. So the adverb here, very informal, neutral. If we want to be more formal, we can use something like highly or perhaps exceedingly. That's a very formal one. Exceedingly. She's exceedingly intelligent. Am I speaking too fast? My apologies. People usually tell me I speak too slowly, if anything. That was formal, wasn't it? My apologies. I could have said, I'm sorry, less formal. So here, she works really hard versus she demonstrates a strong work ethic. And a strong work ethic, this is a noun phrase. And these using nouns tends to give a more formal feel to work. We're going to see an example in a moment, actually, that makes that really clear. So another informal linker is and what's more. It's not exactly the same as and I think, Manuel, this is probably what you're thinking of with even more. And more importantly, the hotel was well looked after, and what's more, the staff were really friendly. Any idea what the more formal version of this would be? Like, how would we say, and what's more in a more formal context? Yeah, I mean, furthermore could work here. Furthermore tends to be used when, I think, giving lists of things, like next on the list. Furthermore, there's another one that is even more referring to more importantly. But yes, you could use furthermore. The hotel was well looked after. Furthermore, the staff were really friendly. Anyone think of another option beginning with M? Yeah. Moreover, yes, absolutely. So let's pop that up there. Yeah. So, yeah. Nicely done, everyone. So here's a more formal version. The hotel was beautifully maintained. Moreover, the staff were exceptionally courteous. So a few kind of key points here. The commas, you'll notice, and what's more is followed by a comma, but you wouldn't introduce it with a semicolon. Whereas moreover, you either want a full stop and a capital letter, new sentence, or you can use a semicolon, one or the other, not just a comma. Well looked after. So here we've got a phrasal verb. And as mentioned earlier, those are not so common in formal writing. Beautifully maintained, far more formal. And here again, the difference in the adverbs, really, a bit like very, is more common in informal and neutral contexts in spoken English. But in writing, we might choose to use something more formal, like exceptionally, or the one that I put earlier, exceedingly, something like this. And then we have also our choice of adjective. Friendly, high frequency, very common. We use it a lot. Courteous, a bit less common, a bit more formal. Courteous, I mean, ultimately, really it means polite, very courteous. Let's have a look now at our contrast linkers. We've got 3 of these, and then that will bring us to the end. So, informal. What's the word you use informally to introduce a contrast? For example, how would you complete this sentence? Yep, absolutely. Aha. So the informal one, but Cecilia, so however, absolutely. This is more of a formal option, although depending on where it's placed is also a bit more of a formal option. So let's take a closer look. We tried to contact them, but no one answered. And the more formal one, so Cecilia, this is your one. However, we attempted to make contact. However, there was no response. And you can see again the punctuation. So, however, it should either have a full stop or a semicolon before and a comma afterwards. And then we've also got the verb choice here. We tried versus we attempted. Yeah. So for addition, Manuel, I would say besides is, yeah, it's more common in speaking, certainly. It's less formal. Less formal. Mhm. Contact versus make contact. Contact is a verb and a noun. In the first sentence, it's a verb, and in the second, it's a noun. And this is what we call nominalization or nouning, this practice of using nouns instead of verbs. This is a key feature of academic writing. So doing this gives your work a more formal feel. Yeah, that's another good one for addition, for adding. Additionally, it's more formal than and. Yeah. But no one answered. there was no response. So this again is an example of nominalization. In the first one, you've got the verb to answer. No one answered. In the second one, we've got the noun phrase. There was no response. So here, response, or you could say answer. There was no answer. Response is a little bit more formal. So this is another thing you can do if you want to sound more formal. Switch out your verbs for nouns. Eugene, elaborate, please. What do you mean and never? And never. In what context? Ah, gotcha. I drink coffee and never tea, right? Or and I never drink tea. Yeah. Another one here for contrast. So I enjoyed the movie, but it was too long. So Alexander, this time we're going to look at although as being a more formal option. So, although I enjoyed the film, it was somewhat lengthy. This is our more formal sentence. And there's a couple of things going on here. First of all, the punctuation is the same. We just need a comma. And we can reverse the clauses. We could say, I enjoyed the film, comma, although it was somewhat lengthy. But this, although it's correct, is more of a neutral style. So when we want to be more formal, we typically we use although at the beginning. Aha, yes. Julio. Right, what else? This is kind of an interesting one. So movie and film, we typically think of these as being the UK, US variants. So in North American English, they would say movie, but in British English, we would say film. Although, and I feel like I always say this, there's much more of a crossover nowadays. So it's very common for people in England to refer to a movie. But it's not just this geographical difference. There's also a level of formality here. So movie is a less formal word than film. Too, again, so we've got a switching out of adverbs. It was too long. It was somewhat lengthy. They're not exactly the same, although they are both used when we're being negative about something, generally speaking. I think that's fair to say. Like somewhat is used in kind of negative contexts to some degree. Or is it? Maybe not. Somewhat. You could say in a comparative context, like he's somewhat more such that he's somewhat quieter than he used to be. Okay, yeah. So somewhat, it can be used in more positive contexts, but it's a gentler way of saying it. And that's another key feature of formal writing. People hedge. They're less direct, less blunt. So you don't say, it's too long, like somewhat, to some extent, to a degree. So Manuel, you've doubled up on the linking words there. We wouldn't say although and notwithstanding in the same sentence like that. We would use one or the other because both of them show contrast. Notwithstanding is more like despite. It's used with a noun phrase. So notwithstanding the length, perhaps, or I enjoyed the film, the length notwithstanding, something like that. I enjoyed the film. Unfortunately, yeah, it was somewhat lengthy. Yeah, yeah. And then we also have the difference between using long, the adjective, versus lengthy, the noun. So again, back to this idea of nominalization or using nouns, and it gives it a more formal vibe. There is one more we're going to look at. So the instructions weren't clear, but we managed to finish the project. Notwithstanding anything to the contrary. Yeah, this is true. Anything to the contrary. So we've got a noun phrase there. Yeah. I don't think I've done a video about notwithstanding. I guess the one that it's most similar to would be despite or yeah, despite, I think. So the final one we're going to look at is nevertheless. Nevertheless. And actually, you can also say nonetheless. Exactly the same, nevertheless, nonetheless. Right. So, there's a novel called Notwithstanding by Louis de Bernier. It's fantastic. Well, he's a fantastic writer. He wrote Captain Corelli's Mandolin, which, if you've seen the film, I mean, it's been like Hollywoodized and well, it's not really my cup of tea, I think, the film, but the book is fabulous. Why have I enlarged myself? Let's get rid of that. Yeah. In fact, I started reading it and I didn't like it. And I was talking to my brother and he said, "What? That's the best book ever. You need to read it again." So I gave it another try and it was absolutely amazing. He was right. I couldn't put it down. Fantastic book. So, yeah. And although the film is mostly a love story, the book is largely set during the war. Yeah, it's about the captain's experiences in the war. It's a very good book. For anyone who's just appeared, we're talking about Captain Corelli's Mandolin. Wonderful book. Highly recommended. So we use nevertheless when we want to introduce a strong contrast. The instructions lacked clarity. Nevertheless, we completed the project successfully. So it's surprising, considering the instructions lacked clarity. It's surprising that we were able to complete the project. Yeah. Yeah, the instructions weren't clear, full stop. Nevertheless, we managed to, absolutely. You can use even though, yes, but not in the position of nevertheless. It would have to be at the beginning. There's two separate words. So even though the instructions lacked clarity, we completed the project successfully. Yeah, it is kind of like that because even though typically expresses a bit of a stronger contrast than although. Yeah. And then here we also have the punctuation. There's typically a comma after nevertheless. We've got this adjective versus noun, were not clear, versus lacked clarity. So using the noun gives it a more formal tone, a more formal vibe. And managed to finish versus completed successfully. So managed to do something is very common. Eugene. So yeah, we had moreover. Moreover is an addition linker, and it's like saying, and more importantly. More importantly. When I go through and edit this, it'll have to be tomorrow. It takes usually overnight until it's ready to be edited. It has to process. I'll add timestamps to it. So if you want to look back at any of these parts, you'll be able to just look in the video description and then easily find the part that you're looking for. So I think that might be the last example. Yeah. And for anybody who, who wants to learn more about this, then check out my intermediate English master course, because this is one of the lessons or one of the topics. I think it's actually the final lesson. So if you feel you'd like to brush up on your intermediate grammar, then do check that out. You can use the QR code, or the link is in the description as well. If you've got any questions about it, I'd be happy to answer them. So I'll start that, put the link in the chat as well. The course has, let's say, it's got like 50 plus lessons and PDFs that you can download, and there's a 14-day money-back guarantee as well. So if you are interested, check it out. And if you buy it and for whatever reason you decide that it's not for you, then you can just ask for a refund and you shall have it. Okay. So thank you very much, guys. Does anyone have any questions before we finish? And also, does anyone have any suggestions for the next live lesson? Do let me know. I'm open to suggestion. Meaning, so I'll take same time as. Yeah, I suppose it's the same in any language, though, isn't it? We have all these words that have multiple meanings. Yeah. Jesus, collabs. I'm still, unfortunately, struggling to keep up with my workload, so I'm just not taking on any new collaborations at the moment because I'm just not able to do it. But yeah, do keep checking in about that. Hopefully one day soon I'll get on top of things. Fingers crossed. I don't know how you do it, Jesus, with your kids. I don't know. I know you're a very busy man. Yeah, Cecilia, you're very welcome. Yeah, adverbs as a topic. Yeah, a while back I did a live stream on the position of adverbs, which, if I do say so myself, I think was a fabulous lesson. So be sure to check that out from the live streams playlist. And I think I'll have to maybe edit that or perhaps re-record it as just, as a standalone video rather than a live. Yeah. there's also a members only live stream about adverbs. I think it was about perhaps I struggle to remember about kind of more interesting adverbs. Yeah, I've done a few. It's so broad, isn't it, the topic of adverbs, but I'll pop it on the list for sure. There will be a video this weekend. It will be up in the chat. It's going to be an advanced video, actually, on inversion after negative adverbials. So things like never have I seen such a beautiful painting, this kind of structure. I was working on it last weekend, but I wasn't able to finish it in time. So that's going to be done for this weekend. So, and added to my inversion playlist, which is long. So, cool, guys. Thank you very much for joining me today. And I hope that you have a fabulous rest of the day, whatever time it is for you. And yeah, I'm going to go and make some dinner. No idea what I'm having yet. I don't love cooking. I do have a pizza in the fridge. I'm afraid I may just like stick that in the oven today. Yeah, cool, cool. Thanks, Helen. Likewise. Yeah, cool, cool, cool. Excellent. Cheers, guys. See you in the next video. Bye, Alexander. Bon appetit, thanks. Roshan, yeah. I like this. Ta-ta for now. Oh, that reminds me of something. Ta-ta for now. It's not coming to me. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah. Angela, yeah, not bad, thank you. I'm glad you're doing well. Glad to hear it. Not bad. Excellent. Right, everyone. Until next time. Bye, guys.